Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Sean.
Hey, Sean Bice, what about that? A professional introduction to our podcast for the first time. And it's even Jonathan Green, for God's sakes. Who would have thought?
That was crazy. I just don't feel worthy, but there's something about the British accent, introducing us. It's like, wow, we've hit the big time. So I'm very happy.
I know, you're right.
That.
It's like when I watch a motorcycle race and there's British accent on there, for some reason it feels more real. It could be like it could be a race through the streets of Tijuana, but if there's a British guy talking about it, it seems like it's like, the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah, so thank you, Jonathan Green, for validating our podcast. We appreciate it. That's good.
Well, how are you today out there in Ohio?
I'm good. I've got a quick story to tell too, related to Ohio. Really? Well, this one will be quicker than some of my others, but this actually relates to our guest, Roger Lee Hayden, that's on. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too. But anyway, I think I sent a photo of this to Roger at one time or talked to him about this. But we have a chain of barbecue places I guess they're based in Columbus, and there's a bunch in the area called City Barbecue. And the one that isn't too far from us, when I go there, they have. Do you remember, this is going way back, Paul, but do you remember on MASH, they used to have, this is a little random. Do you remember they had that sign in the middle of the MASH unit that was like, it pointed like Tokyo and Malibu? Yeah. So this City Barbecue that we have near us, there is a sign like that going in. And I never really noticed it until recently. And on it says, Moonlight Barbecue, which is in Owensboro, Kentucky. And I have no idea why it's there, but they must, I know it's considered a great barbecue joint, but I'm amazed that a City Barbecue up here pointed that out as a destination to go from there. So that's my quick story that relates to Roger Hayden, that Moonlight. How
did you know? Did it say the name of the place and then it said Owensboro, or you figured out that it was in Owensboro?
Well, yeah, it said so it says Moonlight. It actually says Moonlight BBQ, which always bugs me that, it says BBQ. They can't spell it out. But anyway, and it says Owensboro, Kentucky, and it says how many miles it is. So whenever I go there to eat, I always remember and know just how far it is from there to, close to Roger's place anyway. So I just think it's kind of funny. It's so random that it's there.
So that's more useless information to fill your stupid head with.
And it leads into Moonlight. We can talk to Roger about that place and the ice cream place he goes to and racing and all kinds of things. So it'll be great.
Well, let's talk to Roger here in a second. I had to break open the media guide so I can't remember what Roger's ever done, because he's been retired so long now and it's kind of forgotten. But this guy, I've known this guy since he was a pudgy little freaking kid riding a Suzuki, and it's funny because when I was looking up in the media guide, it was like I'm probably even going to miss some, but he's ridden for Arian Honda, Chaparral Suzuki, Monster Kawasaki, Michael Jordan, and obviously Yoshimura Suzuki, where he ended his career. But he's been all over the place, and I don't know. It's weird that it's funny because him and Josh Hayes kind of, I guess, started the same year professionally, at least.
Right.
And it always seemed like, everyone would always talk about how long Josh had been doing it without actually realizing that Roger had been doing it the same amount of time. But I think that's mainly because when Roger started, he was actually pretty young, whereas when Josh started, he wasn't. So it kind of gave the illusion that Josh had been doing it for longer. Right. But this guy, Roger's been, like I said, he's been there forever. I think 2001 was when he might have started professionally, and he won this AMA Supersport Championship in 2007. He got his first Superbike win in 2012 at Homestead in Florida. And as we know, he won 5 times in the MotoAmerica series before retiring, and ended up with 9 career Superbike wins. So he had a really good career. And I remember way back, when he won that Supersport championship. And he won a Supersport championship when everybody raced Supersport. It's like there's been years when Supersport hasn't been what it used to be, but it used to be is when he won that championship. So
that's right.
Let's bring Roger in and have a little chat with him. Roger, my first question is, what do you miss most about not racing? Is it actually riding the bike or not seeing me and Sean?
I'd say easily probably missing you two.
Probably,
without a doubt.
Probably me more than you, Paul,
up.
but I don't know.
I'm tearing up.
I'm pretty emotional over it myself.
How are you today in Kentucky? Oh, the next thing I got is I was looking at Strava today, and you guys went on your bicycle ride. You and it looked like Hayden Gillum and JD and Nick. I don't think Jake was there.
No, he was, but he doesn't. He hasn't been using Strava.
Oh, he's got so many miles. He doesn't want to embarrass everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Gage Reese went today also.
Oh, okay. So I look on there, and it's basically, it says like, it gives like 4 of you guys some KOM. How do you all get it?
Well, usually because we just work together sometimes, or one person goes for it and everybody just kind of stays in this draft. And some days somebody can get away, or if it's up a hill, it was flat. So it was kind of, everybody usually can stay in on the flat, but no, it was a good ride.
Yeah, it looked like it.
All Roger, is your well, I got one question related to cycling. Roger, is your motivation? I mean, obviously your motivation is different. When you're on a bicycle, what's your motivation now to do what you're doing?
Just because I want to stay competitive at something, and I still want to keep my mind busy and still wake up and have a goal. And that's, I did take a lot of time off from, not a lot, but I wasn't cycling very much at all. And, did some things to stay somewhat active, but, I just want to wake up and have a goal, and that's just to continue to become a better cyclist. And you're right, it is weird because used to, when you cycled all the time, all you thought about was like racing. You played races out in your head, and you always won the race or whatever. Now when I cycle, and sometimes that stuff comes up, and I catch myself thinking about it, and it's like, oh man, what are you thinking about? So it's hard it's hard to adjust.
Yeah, big difference. That's cool that you're still doing it though. That's awesome.
No, I still do it, and I've been riding a lot with the boys, the last couple of weeks too at JD's and stuff. So, I don't know. It was nice to have that long break that I had, and now I don't, if I don't want to do a 30-minute moto now, I just ride for however long I want and stop.
And you got to remember too, he doesn't want Dana to leave because he got fat.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a standard to keep there. I can't believe that.
God
it's
knows
funny too.
If she took all those cats and left, what would he do?
He loves it. He's all about the cats now. I
probably wouldn't mind that.
That'd be okay. That'd be okay.
Yeah.
So Roger, it was interesting so you got married and then you raced, and then I think this is right. Then you retired. Then I thought you were just on vacation, but you actually went on your honeymoon. So you definitely spread out the whole marriage then honeymoon thing, didn't you? I mean, there was a lot of time in between those two things, right?
Yeah, I didn't go on our honeymoon till March, I don't think. And we got married last April, and figured, once we got married, it was like right before the season, and we thought, I thought, just plan it during the off season instead of, you never know. You plan your honeymoon, and then there's a test that comes up, or there's something that, a sponsor wants you to do or whatever. So I figured we could just do it in the off season. And then once I knew that I was going to retire, it really opened up the schedule, and we could plan it. So it was late, but it was worth it. So we had a good time.
On your wedding day, did you know you were going to retire?
Not that exact day, but I knew my body was struggling to keep up, but it's kind of weird now. JD asked me the other day, but man, you've been cycling and riding all the time, and do you miss it? I'm like, well, you know what? Actually, my body feels so good now because I took so much time off. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I feel. So, last year I had a shoulder that was really bothering me. If I was going to continue, I was going to have to get it fixed. But now, since I didn't ride my bike and I didn't do anything like really strenuous since the end of the season, like now I have like no shoulder pain, none of that. So yeah, it was interesting. But I like competing against them boys and giving somebody to let them have somebody to train with. Especially, JD likes to train all the time, so kind of helps him when he has somebody to train with and, give them a hard time.
Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to. Right.
Right.
Speaking of JD, you weren't at the race, but you had to have been watching on TV. It's a pretty cool deal that he won, don't you think?
It was really cool. And I was watching actually on MotoAmerica Live Plus.
That a boy.
And I even watched Saturday's races too. What's so good about having the app was I took my niece to a slime convention.
I know, we got to find out about that. We need to know what that is.
And I was able to watch the races on my phone while I was there. So it worked out really nice, actually. And but I was really happy for JD, mainly just because I know how much work that JD puts in. I know I say this all the time, and I probably sound like his manager, but the guy there's nobody that is more committed to racing motorcycles than JD. It's every day, all day. He flew home Sunday from the race in California last week. Monday, as soon as he gets home, he's prepping his turn track Sunday, and we're riding at his house on Monday. So the guy, he puts in the time, he does the work, There's no other distractions. So you want to see that hard work pay off for a guy like that who takes it that serious and works that hard. And, also I think it was cool for him because, at the end of the season, I seen him on them days when he didn't know what he was doing next year.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
He didn't know if he was going to be road racing. Maybe I'm going to have to be a full-time flat tracker. He thought he had a Superbike gig with one team, and then it, not Yost, but another place, and then it didn't come through. And I remember one day he showed up at my house. I said, JD, are you sick? He said, no, I haven't been sleeping.
Wow.
He said, I'm so stressed out about, next year. I can't sleep. And and then, he got overlooked for, a couple of Superbike rides. And so I know that had to be some extra motivation, and also, kind of overlooked at Yamaha as well for not overlooked, but wasn't really the guy they chose, or the way the cards played out. I don't know if I'd say wasn't chose, but
right.
Anyways, he just wasn't picked by those guys, and to see him stick with it, not give up, not have a pity party, and he wasn't saying that's what everybody gets for not believing in me. He just does his job, and so it was cool to see that pay off. And Daytona, he didn't make the main event, made a mistake, and so it was just cool to see his work pay off.
That team is interesting too now with of course your brother Tommy is I'm not sure what exactly his title is, operations manager or whatever, but perfect setup for him too. So it's got to be interesting. Does Tommy, or does JD know Tommy as well as he knows you? How is it the same or is it different?
I think it's different.
Okay.
Because I'm with JD more. When JD started coming around is when Tommy wasn't racing as much, but he still knew Tommy, and really Tommy's he doesn't really have a ton to do with the road race side of it. It's more the flat track. So, as far as flat track goes, I think that's who, JD has to deal with all the time, is Tommy, because he is the team manager. And, and I think it works out good for both of them, because I know that Tommy likes JD, and another guy that it's hard not to like a guy who works that, when you're busting your butt to put the team together, the guy's not sitting on the couch playing video games. I mean, he's training, he's doing his part. So, I think it's cool, and, they want to, I don't know. To me, I think it's pretty cool. JD won his first race, and Tommy was the team manager and kind of got his first win as the team manager together, I guess you would say.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Yeah.
What, Roger, as far as the part that you miss about the racing, is it burning laps on a really cool motorcycle? Or was it the competition of a race?
The competition of racing is what I miss the most. And, last year was just a struggle, just because, there was just a lot going on physically and, maybe mentally as well. And just, I just needed a break, long story short. And, the training and stuff didn't bother me. And it still, obviously you can see it still doesn't bother me. And now, I took all this time off and all that. It's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like my old self again. And, my body feels really good again. So, just competing and being with the team and working together and, trying to figure out a way to be quicker. I love that Friday when you're trying to figure out what are we going to do tomorrow? We have to do something, and working together, and then coming out Saturday morning, kind of like at Pittsburgh. We were slow and we stayed on it, and then we won a race. So, yeah, I really miss that. And, I miss being in the paddock as well. So there's a lot of stuff I miss, but, I knew it was going to be a transition for a while, and who knows what the future might hold.
Yeah, when you were on the PA was it Road Atlanta? Yeah, just fantastic. We heard a lot of great things from fans about it, and you're such a natural for that. And I hope you do more of that for us, because that's a cool aspect, and especially you're so close. It hasn't been long since you retired, so you know and understand everything that's going on there, and really can have a lot of insight into everything. So I hope you're going to do some more of that this season and even beyond that.
Yeah, I hope to do. Right now, the next one's not scheduled for till Pittsburgh, so going to be a while. But I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and it was also harder than I thought it would be. Because the first day I did it was when the 600 guys had that 20-minute red flag, and me and
Robbie Floyd.
Robbie Floyd. We had to fill that gap of 20 minutes of talking, and me and him just met each other. So, you know what I mean? Like, we were just trying to fill the gap the best we could. It was my first day on the microphone, so it was a little bit harder than I thought. But people told me I got better as it went, and also at Road Atlanta, Tony paid me to go out and watch him in a couple of areas that he felt like he was struggling. And
oh, wow.
Since I was already going to be there, and took some videos and stuff for him, and what his bike was doing different compared to a couple other guys, and gave him some ideas to work on, and he got to see what his bike was doing in certain places compared to the other guys. So that was cool. It was a different side of it, and it was just fun learning something new. Like, I've never did it. I've never seen that side. I've never seen what all goes into it. There was actually one thing that was kind of freaking me out a little bit is a guy will talk in your ear while you're talking,
Yeah.
you know, and be like,
Oh, that's
you know,
terrible. Yeah.
You know, because he's telling you like stuff that maybe that you don't see, or, you know, hey, we're going down the pit road, and I'll be, you know, talking and hear something in my ear and I have to like keep going. So you kind of realize, you know, it's not as easy as just sitting up there and talking, you know, like we are on the phone here. I mean, you can do this all day, but when they say, hey, you're on TV, I mean, it's hard to just relax and let it flow. But it was fun. And yeah, like I said, I hope to do a lot more. And if not that, I hope something else can come up and come to more races. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's always kind of cool to get paid to watch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Exactly.
I didn't know that about Tony too. So that brings up something, Roger, I want to ask you about. You know, it always seemed like the relationship that you and Tony had was so great and a lot of camaraderie back and forth. And I know you had that within your team, your core group of guys in the team. Was it you? But you know, they always say the first one you want to beat your teammate. So was it always pretty great between you and Tony? I mean, obviously now that he's asking you to help him, so that's an interesting relationship.
No, we always got along pretty well. You know, I think we tried to help each other as much as we could, because at the time Yamaha was, you know, winning all the time, and we wanted to work together and at least, you know, if sort it out between me and him. I mean, he definitely came out on the better end of the stick way more than me, but we got along good. There's only one instance that we had to talk about a disagreement or whatever you want to say. The first year we were teammates, but it was really cool because we both dropped it and we both knew it was because the other one wanted to win so bad. You know, it's all it was. It was just competitive nature, and you know what I mean? You understand that sometimes things happen, and that's just the way it is in racing. I mean, you always hear guys are mad at somebody or whatever, and you know, when my brother passed away, I mean, Tony came to the funeral and just, I don't know, he went above and beyond what a teammate needed to do, especially for two guys fighting for a championship. And he always, I mean, even last year continued to help me. I knew that he was, I knew he had a baby on the way at Barber. So, you know, that's just like people ask, well, y'all really that good of friends? I'm like, well, I was the first one he told that he was having a baby on the way at Barber.
That is great.
You know, before he told anybody else. And, you know, I think he realized how much he could trust me because, you know, it never got leaked out till he told anybody.
Right. That's really cool. What a good story that is.
Where does he rank on a list of guys that you've raced as far as like how tough of a competitor he is?
I mean, he has to be right up there at the top. I mean, me and Ben Spees used to have a lot of battles back in the day, but it was different because it was so early. And then Josh was always really tough. Him and Josh are comparable because sometimes they will their way to victory more than they might not have the best setup or the best speed, but they figure out a way. And sometimes you think that Tony's out of it, and then next thing you know, he is. And he's just tough. And you know, when the green flag drops, Tony doesn't really, you know, he doesn't care to be your buddy or not, and that's just the way it is. I mean, he'll talk to you in the pits, go to dinner, let you follow him, whatever. But when that shield goes down, you know, he's not really, he's for Tony and wants to win. And, you know, that's kind of way I thought that Josh Hayes was. But I mean, also you have to throw Cameron in there too, because I mean, he won a lot, but Cameron has almost sometimes like more raw speed than maybe those two, if that makes sense. Like, I mean,
No, it does.
He's super talented and competitive. And, you know, once he started training a lot, I knew once it all came together, he was going to be really strong, because that first year on a Superbike, I mean, he was so smooth and so fast, and you could hear him getting on the gas so early, and just it looked too easy.
Yeah, that's the thing with him. It just seems like it comes easy to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like almost like my brother Tommy. Like sometimes we'll go to, back in the day, we go to a motocross track and I'll be watching him. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm about to smoke this guy. And get out there and he's like actually going faster than me. I'm like, something don't look right. But that's kind of how Cameron is. And you know, Garrett.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
At Atlanta, when I was watching practices, Garrett was really, really fast and looked really really smooth and in control. So I mean, he's Garrett's gonna win eventually. Man, that guy's just having some bad luck, but once that goes away, I think Garrett's definitely figured out how to, ride the big bike. Look how far he came back at Austin and almost that first race. So the Superbike class is awesome this year. I mean, it's competitive. I mean, you turn on the TV and there's a pack of guys. I mean, even last week at Virginia, the battle for third through sixth was really good, and I think we got a good stage set because, you know, Tony and Cameron, I mean, they're friendly, but you can tell that it's a little deeper with those two. And then you got Garrett and I think JD are gonna kind of create a little bit of a, you know, rivalry between those two, because they're the next two guys really, and then throw Jake and Matthew Schultz is in there as well. So I think we're in for a really good year in Superbike.
And you didn't even talk about the guy on your bike.
Right. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, and throw Josh Herron in there as well, because I mean, of course he's fast and he likes to, you know, he likes to mix it up as well. So I think I think the best, I mean, we've had some pretty good races already, but I think the best is far to come yet. And I don't know how I forgot about Josh, but I mean, there's 6 guys right now that you could say, if you said one at MotoAmerica, you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about Josh Herron for a minute. You've known him for a long time, Roger, and you've seen his riding, I think, change. I think you know what's your opinion? It seems like he's a different guy, a different rider than he used to be, even a couple of years ago. Would you agree with that, or do you think he's the same? Where do you think he is?
I think he's for sure a lot better rider than he. I mean, not that he was ever a bad rider, but you know, couple years ago, he was always looking for a toe, and if he was in the lead, the pace wasn't sometimes. I mean, I think he would even tell you this, that sometimes he didn't do the lap time maybe that the leaders would do, or you know, he would be one of those guys that could get a toe off somebody and drop a second and a half. So, but then last year, I mean, even when he rode the Superstock bike the last year at Maine, I mean, he got on the podium at Laguna. But last year, he was doing the lap times by himself in practice. He could lead a race. When he was in front, the lap time wasn't slowing. So I think he really made a huge step last year. And, I mean, he deserved the Superbike ride without a doubt, because he was the next best guy that didn't have a ride last year for sure. And I think this year he might, and it's just so easy to do once you get a factory ride. But you know, you see other guys too, like maybe sometimes putting too much pressure on himself and, not being Josh Herron of I don't know this for sure. I mean, I could be wrong too. I mean, there could be something else going on. I don't get involved, but, then you go to the second race at Coda and he looks relaxed. You know what I mean? He just looks like he's on cruise control next to last couple laps. He, steps up the pace. So I think once he figures that out, just to have fun, how great his team is. It's new, they're gelling, and just quit putting so much pressure and think that he has to win every weekend, because he's a great rider and he's on a great bike and a great team they're really behind him. So I think once he gets past just settling into Josh of last year, he's going to make a huge step.
Yeah, we were thinking that when going into VIR, I mean, we were kind of reliving history a little bit there from a couple of years ago and thinking, the way Way Herron did at Coda, that he would go in there and maybe, mix it up with Tony a little bit. It didn't happen for a number of reasons, but I still think, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's going to be they're going to be together at some point here, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. That'll be kind of one of the tests of those two teammates, I guess. So,
yeah, for sure, because both of those guys like to, stick their nose in there and are really aggressive, and it happens. I mean, race the MotoAmerica paddock. I mean, everybody does get along, but at the same time, I mean, nobody really gives each other an inch once they're out on the track. I mean, they know this is their livelihood, and there's inner disputes that people don't see all the time, that people have, arguments or disagreements, or they're, mad at this guy for whatever, but it's almost like, I guess they don't always just continue to carry on. It's kind of like, some guys do, but it's almost kind of like high school. Like they might have a dispute or argument, but they kind of get over it. But everybody thinks that everybody just hugs and kisses after every single race, but that's just because there's cameras and stuff. There's a lot more. There's a lot more that goes on behind closed doors, and people that don't like each other more than people think.
Right.
Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but like I think especially with the Cameron and Tony thing, I mean, it doesn't take much of a spark there to make a fire,
No, and I think Tony's still bitter about Road Atlanta a couple years ago. I think it still hasn't died down yet.
He has a long memory.
He still has memory. That's
memory.
Right.
And that was so funny, because I used to always give Tony a hard time about that, because when we were walking the track the first time when we got to Pittsburgh, and he was like, "Man, this can be hard to learn." And I said, "Well, luckily for you, you have good memory." And it took him like 5 seconds, and then he just starts dying laughing. So
he did. Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So he knew I was always. We could always give each other a hard time, but the dust was a little bit settled by then. We were about a month or two away. I don't know if I would have did it the next week. But,
right.
But
you can tell those two, you can tell when they race. I mean, there's a little more there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think honestly, those two go into every race and basically every lap. I think they're thinking about each other. Like I know it's like, no matter what, I think any of those guys, if you're leading or, if you're leading, you know that Cameron and Tony are coming at some point.
And because to be honest, I mean, they're the only two to prove they stand in each other's way of the championship until somebody else is there week in, week out, year after year. I mean, it's those. I'm not saying that somebody can't. I mean, Garrett could, JD could, Josh could. I mean, any of those guys could. But until it happens, I think they feel like the other one's their biggest threat. And as of right now, I mean, it holds true.
I think that was real insightful of you to say about the situation with JD and Garrett too, being teammates. And I mean, they always got along as teammates and everything. But you kind of explained the scenario about how each of them won a championship, but Garrett won the one first that got him into Superbike and that whole thing. But now, boy, I don't know if you got a sense of it, Roger, from watching MotoAmerica Live Plus, but I've never seen Garrett so upset about not winning a race after that VIR one. Did you gather that too from watching it?
Yeah, he seemed really, really disappointed. I mean, it stinks whenever you spend a couple years trying to achieve a goal and somebody does it their third race. And I mean, the facts are those two have been battling each other for a ride for how long now? I mean, at Graves, and then somebody had to replace Josh, and then, I'm sure Garrett's probably thinking, man, if JD keeps winning these races, maybe he's going to get my seat next year. And, all of us riders sometimes think a lot more than it is. And I think Garrett really probably thought that if somebody else beat him, he would have been okay because they've won before. I just don't think he thought on his day that he's going to beat Tony and Cameron by that big of a gap, that he's going to get second by 3 seconds. And I think that was the thing that stung him the most. But, that's Garrett will grow from that. And You know what? We might look back at this in 3 or 4 races or 5 races and say that was the best thing that ever happened to Garrett, because it might have.
Good point. Yeah.
It might have lit a fire under him that we don't know about. And, Garrett definitely has a lot of raw speed. And I seen that firsthand at Atlanta when I was out there watching on Friday, because he was visually coming through the first section at Road Atlanta faster than the other guys.
Hey, Roger, I want to go. Oh,
I think he could be one of those guys that when he gets that first one, kind of can go on a bit of a run with it,
He can, for sure. And he proved that on the 600 once he got it figured out. And honestly, he has now. He's got Josh in his corner. What better guy can you have in your corner to, that knows the Yamaha R1 like the back of his hand to, pump you up before the race and kind of help you learn your racecraft, and maybe, tell him what he could have did different. And, Garrett will learn from that. So he's in a good spot, and how bad it must have stung him to get beat by JD. And the cool thing about it is JD definitely doesn't think that he's got it figured out now. He knows he's got a lot more to go. So that just benefits us on the sidelines.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that many tears at the podium since Mike Alessi won that heat race.
Yeah, and it was. I definitely I felt bad for Garrett, and I would like to think he probably wishes he could go back and maybe do that different. But that's the great thing about all of our races being live, and as bad as it might have felt for him to do that on live TV, but it's great when you get to see that raw emotion and to see that it actually meant something to him. Like if I worked for Garrett, I would have been happy to see that, because
right.
It meant something to him more than just riding around collecting a check and going home. Like
That's right.
It meant something to him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That was cool to see.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Roger. This is pretty random, but I was thinking about this morning. A couple of years ago, I was talking to Rick Hobbs, who, is Cameron's crew chief. And I'm pretty sure he worked with Nicky, with Honda back in the day. But I think it was Rick that told me something that I should have realized and really didn't. But it was at that time anyway, Nicky was he used a lot of rear brake, and obviously because of the flat track background. And they say that that's the case about JD a lot too. And I never really had a chance to ask you this, but do you use a lot of rear brake on a road racing motorcycle?
I did use a lot of rear brake, but I tried to get away from it as much as I could. And my data guy would always have to have him help me to watch for that, because, and dirt track, you'd use it for traction control. So when Nicky was at Honda, he was riding a lot of flat track, and there wasn't a lot of, electronics and stuff like that. And they didn't want him going to the next level using the rear brake so much, because it's not great at the next level. And some instances, like when I rode the Kawasaki MotoGP bike, I was having some front chatter, and it was because I'd used the rear brake. And they showed me, like, as soon as I touched the rear brake, the front would chatter. So sometimes when you use the rear brake now, you're kind of fighting the electronics. So they don't want you to use it and let the electronics work. But back when Nicky was at Honda, the rear brake pretty much was your electronics.
Yeah, they used to say he would come in and the pads would be worn out right on the back calipers, which is, crazy to think of. But I hear you about the traction control. Obviously, he changed as his career went on, and probably really got off the rear brake a lot later on in his career. Learned, especially with all the electronic intervention that he raced with later on. Would you say that's right?
Yeah. Once he got to the, his last year at Honda, they really worked on not using it. And then once he went to MotoGP, definitely had to not use it. And I know JD now, it's one of the things he's working on once he got on the Superbike. I know he was telling me that, Richard was on him a lot about the rear brake. One of the first tests they came in, they couldn't even touch the rear brake. Smoking through pads. But a guy like JD, he's going to do so many laps testing and work on it. And I'm sure he worked. It's got to be a little bit hard going from flat track and then stopping once you get on the road race bike. But
absolutely,
I think JD's figuring it out. And a lot of guys, it's almost like a comfort thing, the rear brake, because you know what it's going to do. But a lot of times when you use the rear brake, though, you kind of stop the bike, and take all the power away instead of the electronics, just letting the electronics do it and just take away a little bit of the power.
So what does Roger do every day? I know there's some cycling, and I know you still work out pretty hard. But other than that, what's a typical day for a retired Roger Hayden look like? You don't play golf yet, right?
No, I don't play golf yet. Right now, the last couple of weeks has been riding my dirt bike and cycling a lot. But I've been doing a lot of stuff also for Nicky's Memorial Foundation. We have a dinner coming up in June, and like a dinner auction type thing. Mm-hmm. And me and my sisters actually have been working pretty hard on it, and me as well, and got an Instagram page going for his Memorial Foundation and a Facebook page going for his foundation. And it's a little more work than you would think. You would think it'd be pretty easy, but there's a lot of hurdles and stuff that you have to get through. So just actually been trying to get all that going and get this dinner going, because we want to, keep his foundation going and not realize when it's too late, like, oh man, we're about to run out of, money to donate to these different things that we like to donate. So we want to keep it going, but also we want to do everything that we do like Nicky would want it, which is, perfect almost, you know what I mean? Something that he would look down and be proud of. And and not a joke. So we have a dinner coming up in June where we sold tables for $1,000 for 8 people, and there's going to be an auction. So just going through and trying to see what people want to give up for an auction for the people that bought a table. And MotoAmerica was actually, they gave us 2 of the full throttle passes for Barber, which was pretty cool because a lot of people around here like to go to Barber. So, just stuff like that and trying to help put all that together. And my mom had knee surgery a couple weeks ago, so she can't drive for 6 weeks. So
Wow.
I'm kind of returning the favor from all the surgeries that I've had, toting her back and forth to the doctor and a couple other stuff. We had to go look at flowers for her garden the other day. So, yeah, just some stuff like that. And just now getting back more busy riding and cycling a lot more that the weather's better.
We can't end this without talking about this slime thing that you
Yeah,
went to.
I gotta know about that.
Because I was trying to figure that out, and my kids, I don't know, I must have missed the slime part, but to explain that a little bit, what's that all about?
So I guess kids these days, or slime is like the new thing. I mean, Tony's girlfriend's daughter, I mean, she's like same age as my niece, and she's all about slime. I mean, she went to Barber, and all they did outside the hotel was make slime. But Tommy's got one of his daughter, Claudia in particular, who's obsessed with slime about like we was with motorcycles when we were kids. Watches videos all day on YouTube, makes different slime, wants somebody to set her up an Etsy account so she can sell her slime. It's pretty cool how they make it because, I mean, it's like laundry detergent, glue. She uses all these different smells like key lime pie, slime, and like bubble slime. And, a couple weeks ago, she was telling me that's all she wants to do is make slime. That's just what she does. She messes with it.
What do you do? What do you do with it?
Play with it.
Yeah.
They just play with it and then put beads in it and do like all these different things and make different smells and different configurations and different stuff. And a couple of weeks ago, she told me that we needed to deck my racing van out so we could go to these slime conventions and she can sell her slime. And I'm like, there's no way there's slime conventions. And she borrowed my phone and she was looking up slime conventions, but she never said anything. And I got home and I looked at my phone to see what she was looking up, and it was slime convention. So I looked at it and I seen there was one coming into Nashville, and which is only 2 hours from our house. And I got on there and got tickets for her and her little sister likes slime, but not like she does. But once I told her she was going to a slime convention, I mean, there was like almost tears is how excited she was.
That's awesome.
Says it was the best day of her life.
Oh wow.
Uncle Roger.
Was it going to this slime convention? I mean, I don't get it either, but I mean, she probably wouldn't get it either if some kid was riding his motorcycle 4 hours a day.
Right.
Because she doesn't really like, she's not really into sports or, this year she's played a couple, but I mean, she was so excited she couldn't sleep. And then I wrote a couple people on Instagram about, hey, we're coming to this slime thing. And like a couple of I guess you call them slimers, like wrote me back, can't wait to meet your niece. And I screenshotted it and showed it to her. And I mean, she was just so excited. I didn't know slime was that big. One of the people there had 2 million Instagram followers.
Wow.
Damn.
Is it related to Nickelodeon? They do some stuff with slime on Nickelodeon. Is that that too, or
no? I mean, that's on there, but I guess I don't know. I mean, a bunch of kids now that are from like the age of 5 to and up, they just I mean, it makes a heck of a mess because you got to use Elmer's glue and laundry detergent's how you get started.
That's bizarre. I guess it's better than eating those pods anyway. I'm glad that one's over. That was stupid.
Yeah, but when they make a heck of a mess, we're not making any slime at my house. I can promise you that.
You make them at grandma's?
Grandma's house has got, I'm not kidding you, 2 racks with 6 shelves on it full of slime, different products.
Wow.
I mean, glue and lotions and detergent and like all these different smells. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Hey, I know we're getting towards the end, but I wanted to ask you about a couple things regarding Owensboro. We used to all know Owensboro as being where all the Haydens are from, but it's really grown beyond that now. It's incredible how you guys have cultivated such a riding culture among, obviously Nick McFadden and, JD, of course, moved there and Hayden Gillum, who I know is a relative, but, Gage Reese, Kelly Reese moved there. It's really become an epicenter for motorcycle racing. That's quite a legacy to your whole family that you started that because, I know you had some other flat track guys that were in the area when you were a kid, right? But for sure, you've really kind of gotten it going down there. Wouldn't you say, Roger?
Yeah, it's just, for one, Owensboro is not crazy expensive. So if you wanted to buy some land and put a track on there, it's reasonable. But the biggest thing I think for us is you always have somebody to ride with. So when you go to JD's turn track or somebody else's turn track, you know where everybody is, like on the track. So everybody knows who's faster than who's faster than you, by how much, because they spot you, I see where at this spot, where's Jake, where's little Nick at, where's JD at. So you always have somebody to ride with and push you. So if you're the fastest, you want to, you're bumming everybody else out. So you're trying to be a lot faster. Nobody wants to be the first one to stop. So, you just have somebody to always push you on days that maybe you don't want to do anything. Or, Gage Reese, I think, is really, I've only rode with him a couple times the last week or two, but he's been on some bicycle rides, and they haven't been much fun, I wouldn't think. A couple of them. But, he has to, he sees what it takes. You see what JD's doing to win Superbike races, and it's not set on the couch and show up and it just happens. He's putting the work in, and one day you might be feeling not so good about wanting to go cycling, but somebody else wants to go. So you never want to be that guy where I don't want to go. There's some people that are like that, but you don't want to be that guy. Like yesterday, me and JD went mountain biking after we rode a turn track, and Nick McFadden was just going to go home, and we were giving him a hard time. So, he comes to the mountain bike trail. So you just always have somebody to give you a push. And when you ride by yourself, it's easy to get, just cruise around, not push, think you're riding hard, thinking you're setting the world on fire. But when you always have somebody to ride with, to push you, to motivate you, it just, it's better. It's like playing basketball with somebody that's better than you. It's going to make you better.
Right. Yeah. It's cool.
All right, we're going to let Uncle Slimy go.
That was good.
All right, well, thanks for having me on. And next year, Paul, I guess we'll see each other in the NFL playoffs. I guess, Sean, we'll see you next year battling for the number 1 draft pick again.
And then screwing it up.
Apparently they want, since I'm in Ohio, they want me to become a Browns fan, but I'm not going to do it. I don't care if Odell's there or not.
Yeah,
that's not going to work for me.
We have a local college here that's got a football team. Maybe some of your Giants could come scout. It's 2A. Maybe get you another quarterback.
yeah. Since we went to Duke and got one, yeah, Duke, a big football school. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, Sean, Roger and I have this long-standing thing where we know that one day it's going to be a Bears-Chargers Super Bowl, and somehow we're going to find the money to make that happen, and we're going to go. Hopefully, I'm not the one making the.
I talked to Chuck and Wayne, and if that happens, I think they said MotoAmerica was going to cover it for us for all all of our hard work and dedication to the series.
I'll work that angle with Wayne and make sure that happens. But
don't let them forget.
Hopefully, we're alive to see it.
For sure.
All right, guys. Roger, thanks for coming on with us.
All right, thanks for having me. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we'll see you in Pittsburgh, if not before. And Sean, same to you. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, sounds good, guys. Bye.